Hi everybody, so I wanted to go over what kind of information you can put into your second body paragraph and third body paragraph for the TDA that compares the author's approach to writing about these invaders. The approach is different in Invaders Among Us than it is in Invader Alert. So the first body paragraph was about the author's purpose, and that is written for you. And if you read it, you will see that the author's purpose in Invaders Among Us is to inform, and the author's purpose in Invader Alert is to persuade. And that is the first thing mentioned in the thesis statement at the end of the intro paragraph. So if you read that thesis statement, you'll see the second thing that is mentioned is text structure and how the two different authors chose different text structures to present the information about these invaders. So if you'll go to the next slide, you'll see the part about text structure on this chart, and we can discuss that. So if you take a look at this section here, it asks what is the text structure of the text, meaning how is it organized. And this column is for Invaders Among Us, and this column is for Invader Alert. So what text structure means is literally how the text or the paragraphs or just the typing is actually formatted on a page. That actually makes a difference, and authors intentionally set up their paragraphing and what they want to put on their printed page. They set it up in a particular way that helps them reach their audience better. So for the first article, Invaders Among Us, the text structure is the actual type of information is more factual, and therefore if you looked at the subheadings that they used, the subheadings are just the species names, which is, a more factual, less creative type of subheading. Whereas if you look at Invader Alert, they used a more creative approach, more casual creative approach, and their subheadings are the places where these animals are found, which is a little bit more creative way to present each species and the information about them. So when you write your second body paragraph talking about the differences and how these authors approach their articles, this could be one way, that they had different text structures, specifically their subheadings. Something else you could say about the text structure is that the Invaders Among Us, the more informative article, has less paragraphs for each section. And that's because its only goal is to inform, whereas there were 3 paragraphs for each section in the Invader Alert article, because they had, they had 1 paragraph to tell you the problems that species was causing, 1 to show what is being done about those problems, and 1 directly persuading you, the reader, how you can help and prevent any more species from becoming an invasive species. And then you could also add a third thing about text structure that is different, and it kind of goes with this first part up here, with it being more factual, is that it seems to be just more causes, In other words, how the species cause the ecosystem to be disturbed, and not really too many effects, meaning not too many solutions. And that's because it is all factual. There is no opinion involved. There is no bias involved on what should or should not be done as a result of these problems. It's just, here are the facts. Here's what these species are doing to the environment, done. Whereas in Invader Alert, there are causes in the first paragraph, but then in the second and third, the effects of those causes or problems that the species are creating. So a little bit more room for persuasion here with the effects. The third body paragraph is going to be about point of view. And actually, I think that's back on slide 1 again. I apologize. But here we can just, what is the author's point of view? We'll put it here, because I don't want to go back a slide now. It'll mess this video up. But talking about how the authors chose different points of view to get their point across. In Invaders Among Us, the author chose to use the third person point of view. No I, no me, no my, and most importantly, no you, no your. And the reason why somebody would use the third person point of view would be for an informative article like this one is. It is more formal. You're not speaking directly to the reader. It is more academic, meaning scholarly, and you would then be able to give some textual evidence of the third person point of view, factual statements that this author was using in his informative article. Now, in the Invader Alert article, he chose to use the second person point of view. And that's because his purpose was to persuade. When you're persuading the reader. So, although I don't think it's always the best practice, and I don't really want you guys to do this in your TDAs, this author chose to do it because he wanted to speak directly to the reader, to connect with the reader more intimately, to get the reader to feel more involved in this discussion or in this topic, so that he could convince the reader to make a change with these invasive species. So he used words like you and your, used imperative sentences where he is commanding the reader to make certain changes. So you could use that as your third body paragraph because, of course, in the thesis statement, that is the third thing that I had listed in the intro paragraph. So hopefully this gives you ideas of what to put in your second and third body paragraphs for the TDA. I know that this is really not an interesting video, but if you are a little confused, honestly, I would go back and listen to this again because I think it will really help you. Good luck.